Hi everyone, how you going? I'll just give this a couple of minutes to kick itself back in. I've got a really big story here, and I've got to be really careful how I frame it, okay? I'm not going to be identifying the person or where they are, their family. I'm just going to explain some very interesting intricacies with this case and the situation that this family is facing at this moment. So I'll just wait for a minute. So I'll just wait for some other people to come in. So we've got a situation where a family is facing being made homeless instantly due to being notified that they're about to go onto the cashless debit card on the 26th of this month. Now, this person has fled a horrific domestic violence situation. They're locked in a court battle where they can't leave the region. All right, which makes it really hard because of the orders in place also restrict where the person can actually go so they don't run into the ex-perpetrator of the abuse. So, there's another complication. The person is a New Zealand national. So, I'll just explain that little bit. For New Zealand nationals that have been in the country more than 10 years prior to 2001, they can receive only 6 months payments. And they can't receive parenting payment. They only get job seeker payment for 6 months. So this person is in a situation where their payments cease in August as well. Now, this person has children. I'm not going to mention their ages because I'm trying not to give anything away about this person's situation, where they are, who they are. I'm trying to protect their privacy, but get the story to you guys as well. So she's been advised that she's going onto the cashless debit card for the job seeker payments, and has been notified by her owner of her private rental, who she gets on very well with, right? And he's going to put it in writing that he's going to terminate her lease, or he will not be renewing her lease. She's on a periodic lease, and it's not because she's not a bad person. You know, she's been paying perfect rent, and they get on really well. It's because she's going onto the Indu card, and because he had a tenant previously that was on the Indu card, and his rent was always late or didn't get paid at all. And as the owner of the property, he's not prepared to go through that again. Now, the situation that this person is in, she was left in a situation where the perpetrator was released from prison. She had to leave the family home. They slept in their car for 6 weeks. She managed to get some jobs to get enough money to get a bond and the rent for the house. Then she had to sell the car in order to get to get white goods and to be able to get bedding and stuff like that for the house. So she's in a situation where she doesn't even have a car, and she's facing a situation of being on the street in her region without even a car to sleep in. Okay, court ordered to stay in that region because of the custody battles. All right. And surviving the trauma, and not only her surviving the trauma, but her children surviving the trauma of the domestic violence. So as you can tell, this person is in a critical crisis situation, and we want the department to stop this, because once she goes onto that card in 6 days' time, that's it. She's out of a house. And there's nothing she can do about it. And the owner, and where she's living, like everywhere else, there is a housing crisis across the country. And the expense of even just a 1-bedroom unit is above her means. All right? Basically, because even though she's got children, she doesn't qualify for parenting payment because of the visa status with New Zealand nationals. So she's only on job seeker payments. And on top of that, her job agency is making her go to appointments every week. And because she doesn't have a car, that's costing her $42 a week in transport, because it's a 2-hour walk each way, all right, unless she uses a taxi. There's a lot more to this that is horrific that I'm not going to tell you, but this was a horrific situation, and it's not over for this family, not by a long shot. All right, they're still going through a lot of support and but they're not getting support in the way that she needs at the moment. And she's stuck in this box of her payments will cancel out. Her trigger payment will cancel out in August. But the main worry is the damage that the cashless debit card will do to her now, rendering her and her family instantly homeless in an area where what other available housing that is available is not appropriate and also above her means to be able to pay rent. This is putting her children at risk. They've already been through enough trauma, right? She's been through enough trauma, and it seems like nobody's letting her away from the trauma. She can't move away to keep the kids safe and keep herself safe because of what's going on with family courts, right? So she's got a visa issue, she's got family court issue, she's got the domestic violence recovery to get through. She's still got to recover from the trauma. It's only a few months, okay? I'll put it that way. I'm trying to be sensitive with this, but this is absolutely horrific. It's probably the most complex and most horrific story that I've been trusted to listen to and hear and talk to this person on the phone. And I have already spoken to both Greens and ALP senators, and I'm hoping that I gave her all the numbers to do so. I hope she has already made contact, because we need the department to withdraw the imposition of putting the cashless debit card on this family, just so that they can have a home. Because, and even if he was to accept it, it's a periodic lease. And we've all seen what's been going on with periodic leases. We've just seen what Mahalia has just gone through with not being able to pay rent because her rent's gone from a fixed lease to a periodic lease. And it's getting ridiculous what's going on with this card, and the amount of hopelessness, homelessness and poverty, destitution it's causing families. This woman has enough to deal with without the cashless debit card on top. And with all the other issues that are surrounding her life, putting this family on the cashless debit card puts her and her children in absolute risk of being on the street. Not even having a car to sleep in, no services to support, and of course being on the card, can't just book into a motel or hotel, all right, especially in a card region. So yeah, I can't answer a lot of questions about this. I just wanted people to know. She gave me consent to share the story to the best of my abilities without giving away too many details, because there's a lot of legal issues still happening here. But it's probably the most complex issue that I've come across. And these children are at risk of being left on the street, which then puts them at risk of possibly being lost to state care if somebody doesn't step up. Now, the minister can step up here and say, okay, we'll look at this woman's case. Right, we still have 6 days. We can reverse the decision. Because knowing purposely that they're going to put this person out on the street, like they've done with so many others anyway, that we know that. So many people have been faced with this situation. They've ended up on the street. They've had to move. But this person can't move. Right? She doesn't have the ability or the freedom to move away from that region, even though she's tried 6 times in the courts to be allowed to, right? He's got a better lawyer. He's got more money, right? He's getting, and she's on her own. All right? So she's trapped. She's trapped by the legal system. She's being trapped by the social security system, right? She's trapped, and she will be trapped by the cashless debit card system, right? She's trapped all ways round, and having to survive what she's gone through. I'm surprised she could even talk to me on the phone, to be quite honest. This person nearly lost her life. It was one of the most horrific domestic violence situations I've heard, because people do tell me what happened to them. I've had one lady send me the photographs of what happened to them and things like that. people do share with me the intimate details of what happened to them, how they got to where they are before they got on the card, or you know, and this is why I always talk about the card seems to be targeted at women that are fleeing domestic violence, because I get so many people that are fleeing domestic violence or have tried to flee domestic violence. I don't purposely miss out the men. The men don't ring me and talk to me, right? It's the only reason why I don't share the men's stories with you. And when the men do talk to me, they don't want it publicised, you know, or they only want a little bit of it, you know. And I do what I can for people. I do what I can for everybody. But in this situation, I will contact this person again today, see how she's going. I hope that she's been able to do what I suggested she do and make contact with the senators that I made contact with. They are expecting her call to get the ball moving, to approach the minister, because 2 children risk being sleeping on the streets with their mum in a region, and I know it's not safe. I know it's not safe, and there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go. Right, and the landlord's not being an arsehole. He's been through this before. He's been burnt before. He couldn't get his rent paid before, or it was always late, and that stuffs up their mortgages. Then they cop default fees from their banks. And so this is the roll-on ripple effect of the cashless debit card to another third party who's not even involved, being impacted, and he's not prepared to do it again. And you can't blame him. And I'm hearing that more and more and more from other people that are being forced to move out of properties, and it's owners are saying, no, I don't want people on the card on my lease because I can't guarantee getting my rent. You know, so Amanda Tessasini says we need landlords to speak up. From my understanding, this particular landlord is going to put it in writing for her so that she can show the department that he's not mucking around. And he's not being mean or nasty. They get on really well. And she's never had a rental problem with him. I mean, and he has said he will put it in writing so she can explain it to the department. And I hope he does. And we're trying to encourage other owners to speak up as well. We ask people, try and speak to your landlord. Can they speak to us? Can they write a letter or something and just explain what their situation is? And people go, oh, set up CenterPay. That costs landlords quite a lot of money to set it up. And most private landlords don't want to, and they don't have to, right? They don't have to by law. Under law, right, the landlord has to accept cash, direct transfer, or check. You know, direct transfer as in from her bank to his bank, which is the way she's been doing it, right? Or cash deposited into his account, or check. That is what is under all of the Residential Tenancies Acts around the country. That's all that's required under law. They're not required or obliged to sign up for CenterPay. That costs them money. And a lot of owners that just have the one property to rent, it might be dad's old house, grandma's old house, or something, you know what I mean? They don't have the money to set it up. So, he's been an awesome landlord. Yep, for sure. And so she's got no hard feelings towards him because he's just been straight up with her. And I've got another lady in WA. Same situation. Indu wouldn't let her pay rent. Landlord was quite upfront. Didn't want to put her on the lease because he said straight up, he said to her, because the other lady was Indigenous, he said, I have no problem with Indigenous people. I have no problem with people on Centrelink. I do not do Indu card or cash, Indu cashless debit card or basics card, because rents are delayed, then I cop fees for my bank. And he said, and I can't afford it, and I don't want the hassle. And he shouldn't have the hassle. So I'm going to leave that with you guys to think about, and I'll get back in contact with this lady and see how she's gone. It's been 2 days since I spoke to her. Yesterday I was extremely tired myself. I wanted to make sure that when I told you guys about this, I framed it very carefully, because there's a lot of issues here. It is very sensitive. And at the same time, the issue here is Indu are going to directly, or Indu Services Australia are going to directly put a family on the street as of the 26th of May if this is not rectified. And I know that this person is not the first person, right, to have this happen to them. But in the circumstances in which she's in, she can't get away. She can't run. Other women and children have fled. And they usually go interstate, like Mahalia fled Harvey Bay. You know what I mean? Sophie fled Buxton to Geelong, you know, type thing. They flee, right? This woman can't do it. She's court ordered to stay in that region no matter what. And it's cruel. So the legal system's got her trapped. And the social security system's going to have her trapped. What do we do? What can we do to help? I will stay in touch with her and find out how she's going. And we go from there. And I'll keep you guys updated as I find out more. And, yeah, so as it stands with Mahalia, last I heard, she had to upload some bank statements and redo an opt-out application. And we're waiting to see how that goes. And, of course, I'll update you with Mahalia's situation as well. And others that come through. Yeah. Oh, it's exhausting. And then over on the Hinkler page this morning, I've got a lady that's got $60 missing from her Indu card. Here we go again, money missing. So, you know, there's so many areas and there's so many issues and there's so many people suffering under this thing. It's got to go. It's got to stop. And, yeah, we've got to keep going, keep pushing. It's got to be gotten rid of. We can't do this to Australian population. We can't allow an LNP government to get in and roll it out further and make it worse. It's bad enough as it is, and it shouldn't even be. This is straight out breaching people's international human rights, denying them the ability to live safely. You know what I mean? Breaching Article 11 all over the place, and it's just ridiculous. So, okay. Yeah, that's all I can say for now. So, I'll just keep doing what I can do, and I'll talk to you guys later, and I'll keep you updated as I get more updates. All right, see ya.